What is good, YouTube? It's your boy Gypsy. This is like my third video that I'll be dropping later today. I did a video back, like 2 videos back, or 1 video back, I don't remember, where I said I would um, give a little background in my drug history. So I guess we'll start with alcohol. Started drinking when I was really young, like 9. Um, Even younger, I remember stealing beers from my grandfather, but I remember being about 8 or 9 the first time I actually got drunk, and then I didn't really start drinking on purpose until I was about 12 or 13, and then probably from about 12 or 13 until I was about 25, 26. I drank pretty heavily. I mean, by the end of my when I gave up drinking, I was drinking a 30-pack of beer a day and a bottle of Jägermeister and some whiskey. My nightly, just nighttime, after work, it would be a pint of Jaeger and a 12-pack. And mind you, that's drinking beers all day and whatever. But that 12-pack of pint was my all right. It's after dinner, time to relax. If I was partying, it would be another 30-pack. I don't know. It was crazy. I put away a lot. And started smoking weed around 12. Started smoking it probably regularly around 12. Continue to smoke it to this day. I do not believe weed is a drug, and I do not believe it's a gateway to anything. I did hard drugs the first time, every time, because I was drunk, not because I was stoned. And the only thing I'll say for weed being somewhat of a gateway is that it does bring you around people that can put you in contact with said hard drugs. Like if you have a dealer and one day you show up and he sells coke or heroin or whatever. But yeah, so I continue to smoke weed. I smoked heroin. I smoked heroin. I've smoked a lot of heroin. I've done a lot of coke, crack. Started that around 18. Probably from 18 to about 22, 23. I was pretty heavy into crack. I never really was a fan of coke, and the fact that it took you so much to feel anything, or at least for me, one line would just give me hyper. I don't know. I don't think I ever really got high off coke, but crack was a whole other story. And I smoked a lot of crack. I can't really put a number on how much I would smoke, but I know many a times it was me and 2 other friends. We could split a quarter ounce of crack a night, for a while, and that's a good amount. That's 7 grams between 3 people. Sometimes we would get more, but then one fateful day, I was drunk at a party, and someone offered me a bag of heroin, and I was like, nah, bro. I don't want that. No, thank you. And he's like, come on, dude, just take it. And I'm like, nope, not doing it. And then 7 beers later, he's like, hey man, I'm wasted, bro. You think you feel good? You should try this heroin. And I'm like, alright, fine. And he's like, just do half the bag. And I did the whole thing. Felt wonderful. And then I threw up. And then I felt even better. And I was like, this is the best thing known to man. Where do you get it? And how do I get more? But thankfully, I ended up getting into some trouble and sentenced to go away to a long-term children's home, and I had to do 18 months. And whilst there, I became sober for the first time since I was like 13. Um, got out, did pretty good for 2 years, but that was pretty much only because I was on probation and didn't want to go back. Nice. So I kind of just did what I had to do to not get in trouble. Um, anyway, I know I'm taking like forever. This might be a two-part thing. I'm trying to like condense stuff, but I'm leaving shit out and like skipping it and fucking the timeline up. But um, yeah, I would say I went to the placement and then I went to a rehab for 50 something days because I'm fat and I smoked so much weed that even though I hadn't smoked weed since I went into the rehab for I peed dirty for 51 days, and they were um, consulting doctors to kick me out or not because they thought I was somehow sneaking in weed. And back then, you could smoke at these places, and they thought I was sneaking it in and smoking it in the cigarette yard. But I wasn't. I just smoked a lot of weed, and I'm fat, and that's where weed goes, is to your fat cells. And speaking of, and I got out of there. I did pretty good again for a little bit, only because I was on probation. Um, now, now I turned 21 in that rehab. I got out. Can't smoke weed. Can't do anything. So I'm taking drug tests every week. But I can drink. So I started. That's when I really started drinking. Like before that, I had already been like a weekend drinker, but heavily. Now I was drinking every day. Even the nights before I had to go to probation in the morning, I was drinking. And because I didn't have a history of alcohol, um, they were only testing me for opiates and marijuana at the time, and like cocaine, but they weren't doing any like breathalyzers or anything like that or blood tests. Um, so I never really had like issue. And so yeah, fast forward like the 2 years, I get off probation. Or no, I gotta tell this part. I'm on probation. I got like 2 weeks left. I go to my friend's house to watch football. I don't really watch football. I just go to drink. I have about 12 or 14 beers. Decide I need to go home. So I leave and I'm driving and I'm speeding. And your boy gets pulled over and arrested for DUI. So I have like 2 weeks left of probation. And I just violated it in a major way with a DUI. So I called my PO, told him what happened. He made me come in, and he's like, "Wow, you showed up." And because I had like called him before the cops did, and like told him everything I did, and kind of just copped to it, came clean. He didn't violate me, and he let me off probation, which was the coolest fucking thing that happened because they. It's like I skipped why I was on probation. I went to jail for assault a lot when I was younger, and I had a lot of anger issues. And one kid actually kind of tried to take it pretty far, and I got like a burglary, breaking and entering, assault, criminal mischief, like all these. It was like a bunch of charges, and I had to like go to court and plead it down. And because I was drunk and on drugs, I was able to get away with going to rehab and 2 years of probation with a 7 year or a 5 year suspended sentence. So that meant if I fuck up that 2 year probation, I'm getting locked up for 5 years. So if he violated me, I would have went away until I was like 27 years old, 28 years old. Anyway, I get off probation and now I can smoke weed. So I'm like smoking weed again. Everything's back to normal. I'm drinking a lot less because I'm smoking, and like life is grand, life is good. And then in that fight that I talked about before, where the kid pressed charges, after I had bang 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 bang, kind of did my thing. His girlfriend was on the phone with the cops, and someone was like, "Yo, she's talking to the cops." So I ran, and when I turned to run, like he had came at me with a bat, and I had like bang, 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 and like he missed. Like I fucked him up, and he missed me. And when I turned to run, he like got up and like one hand, like he was like kind of like on his knee, like getting up with had the bat in one hand, and he like swung, and he hit me right in between my spot, like my shoulders, like with the knob of the bat, and I was just so fucked up, and I like ran, and I was like talking to my boy while we were running. I'm like, yo, he hit me hard, bro. Like I don't know, that dude can punch. Like I'm glad I didn't catch a full one to the face. And he's like, yo, he hit you with a bat, son. And I'm like, nah. And he's like, yeah. Like we get home, like to like I didn't go home. I went to my cousin's house. We get like out there, and I look in the mirror, and there's like a huge like welt and bruise on my back, and I'm like, fuck it. And I like hid out for like 6 months from the cops, and then they got me, and I went to jail, did the rehab thing, got out, turned 21, got the DUI, and then got my license back. And when I was driving, a guy had cut me off, and I crashed, and I went through a telephone pole, and like my face hit the windshield. It was pretty bad, and it totaled the truck. Um, when I got to the hospital, they gave me like an MRI and shit, and they were like, "Oh, you broke your back, but you did it like so long ago that the bones are starting to heal." And they were like, talking. That's where the dude hit me. He had like cracked like two of the vertebrae in the bat in between my shoulders with the bat, and then they got huge calcium deposits on it, and that's what brought me into pain medicine. They put me on it when I crashed my truck because I didn't re-break my back, but I really aggravated it. Like it was a small, I don't know if you know, like it was a Mazda B3200, and those it's pretty much a Ford Ranger. Like they're the exact same truck, like the parts and everything at the inside, and it had the extended cab. When I flipped, I ended up in like the back of the cab, but first I had like fully hit my face on the windshield, and it like crunched me back because I'm like a big dude. I mean, my head, if I sit straight up, my head hits the roof. But they said I messed it up, so they put me on oxycontins. And at first I was doing them all right, and then I just started going crazy with them, crazy with them, crazy with them, crazy with them. And then I was doing like physical therapy, and then they were giving me more. And then it was like, oh, with physical therapy, and it's like, I don't know, it's not getting better. And they're like, oh, well, here, try taking these muscle relaxers with it, like Somas, and then taking, here's Oxy 60s, like the red ones, and like just take one of those when you're in pain. And I'm like, okay. And it's like one of those, and I'm like unconscious, like, duh. And I love that feeling. That's my favorite high. I don't really like the coke high or crack high. I like being down, and yet, so I just did pills for a long time, for a few years until they put, at least here in Connecticut, they put like gel in them now, so you can't shoot them up or sniff them. I never shot up anything, but I love sniffing them, and I smoked them too. And you can't smoke them with that gel. That was my main way of using them, was smoking them. So I had been to detox a final time, and I was doing like perk 30s, and then those kind of dried up around here, and then they got really expensive, so I kind of just stopped and ended up in the methadone clinic, and that's where we're gonna stop today, and then maybe I'll do the rest tonight on another video, but I'll probably upload them the same day so that you can part one and part two. Just try to get content out there. But hit me up if you got any drug stories, any ideas, anything you want to talk about. And I no way condone drugs or alcohol. This is just my personal story, my personal journey in life. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.